Philosophers and researchers of the past have written about the importance of patterns as a way of understanding the universe around us. Geometric shapes such as circles and triangles reoccur throughout history and span the entire range of human cultures. Karen L. French has had a lifelong interest in understanding and interpreting the simple patterns that underlie our lives. In her book, Gateway to the Heavens, she writes about how these shapes mold reality and the fabric of our being. Today, Karen talks with us about her work and helps us discover the purpose of geometric shapes. Hi Karen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Today we are going to talk about the book, Gateways to the Heavens.
Yeah.
Now, before we go down that path, I would really like you just to tell me a little bit about yourself and what led you to writing the book on the heavens and the sacred geometry behind it.
Oh, right, okay. Well, predominantly most of my time I've actually spent in business, but I've always been very interested in patterns in life, and I'm fairly numerate but also artistic and creative, and I've always taken an interest in things like sociology and psychology, and been fascinated about how there's these recurring themes, if you like, across all different aspects of life, and they all have different labels but essentially they're saying the same thing. And more recently, about 10 years ago, I was very interested in the ideas of very abstract and sort of all-encompassing concepts such as eternity and infinity and consciousness, and how you would represent these ideas, which are very intangible and, you know, very difficult to clutch at, if you like. And at the time, started sort of noticing that certain letters related to how described attributes of things like eternal time or infinite space and things like that. So D words relating to space, and S words relating to things to do with spirals, and C words relating to circles. And those words sort of stemmed and got me interested in the shapes. And it was sort of one of those things where it's difficult to say that made this or this made the other, but they all sort of gelled together. And that's what got me interested in sacred geometry, and it went
So
from
things
there.
just kind of popped out
Yeah,
into your vision.
exactly.
And you're thinking, okay, what's going on behind this?
Yeah.
Because we see in so many symbols, we see the spiral and the circle, and we really just tend to ignore it and not really think about it. But it's when you just go past that point and you think, well, what really is that? And then it's like when you hear a name, all of a sudden you hear that name again. So you start to really look into the concept behind that.
Exactly.
So as far back as time, since cavemen, we see symbols because they couldn't write. So it goes back. That's how they communicated. So can you just tell us about the communications right back to caves, symbols and what they were trying to express there?
Okay, well, essentially symbols are a way of expressing something. They're not the same as a sign. A sign is giving you an instruction or a direction. A symbol is conveying information that has some kind of meaning that you can relate to at a sort of soul level. And when you go back in time, the thing that makes humanity so interesting is our imagination, because it's with our imaginations that we can actually think about things beyond the surface of something. So we can look at something and say, well, why does that work in that way, or what does that mean, or why is this happening? And any form of symbol is a way of sharing that knowledge that we have within ourselves, that sort of insight that we have within ourselves with somebody else. And then using those symbols, we share the information. That knowledge then stays with us and can be conveyed to future generations. And we can learn from that and build up our knowledge base. You know, it's not something we're having to reinvent all the time. So symbolism, you know, use in language, use in mathematical systems, use in musical notation, from very, very simple beginnings, as you mentioned, you know, just drawing circles on rock faces and stick men, and spirals is a very predominant one as well. We conveyed those concepts and shared them with other people. That some of the very earliest symbols, particularly the circle and spiral, were noticed with the imagination because they are prevalent around us in nature and they organise and orchestrate our lives. In particular the circle, where you have the seasons that keep recurring, and you could think of that abstract idea of something happening again and again as being circular. And then obviously you had a round moon.
That's
and
right.
A round sun.
And the sun. So really in our basic planetary system, it starts from
round,
there, doesn't it?
You drop a pebble and you see ripples radiating
Yes.
around. So it's evident in everything around us. I mean, this is an example I brought here to show the cube, which is not so common because circles do recur everywhere. And this pyrite, and this, to my mind, it's absolutely phenomenal, the perfection of that cube. That's occurring as a natural phenomenon. So
I mean, that is absolutely incredible,
it's
isn't
amazing, yeah. So all of these basic shapes, squares, circles, triangles, are there around. It's only by looking at it and using your imagination and thinking about it, you think, oh, right, well, that organises that. And all my ideas, I thought, oh, these are revolutionary, they're new, they're wonderful. And then I discovered when I started researching it that it's actually been around for thousands
of years. Exactly.
And there was nothing very new about it. And when I put a particular combination together of two-dimensional representations, circle, square, and triangle, discovered that this particular combination of shapes has been around thousands of years.
Are they the main ones? The circle, the square, and the triangle?
Well, I've focused on those in the book. The circle, square, triangle, cross, heart, and spiral, and the idea of duality. Mainly because they relate directly to space and time and our perception of being and how we fit into space-time. There are numerous other geometric shapes around.
More complex.
And more complex ones, but that's my book focuses.
That's the basic, basic ones.
They're the basic ones. And that particular combination has been around for an awfully long time. And was in Hindu, in the Indian world, it's known as the Sri Yantra, and that's where I got the title of the book, Gateway to the Heavens, because that translates as Gateway to the Heavens.